Betsy Myers was the COO of the Barack Obama presidential nomination campaign for the Democratic Party. Very successful it was too. Betsy, tell me, what was it about your campaign that was so different that made it so successful?
Well, I think we just recreated what face-to-face campaigning was all about. We went back to traditional politics, which is face-to-face, which is bringing people together, which is going door to door. But what we did was we added the social networking dimension along with creating offices on the ground. And so the social networking was a way to create intimacy online, to create the relationship that would then drive people to go to the meetings. So it was just a tool that we used that was, kind of happening, that young people were using it. But what we found out in the campaign wasn't just young people. It was people of all ages that were tied into the internet, that were using social networking, that we just tapped into that tool.
How important was the principle of customer service that you were so strong in instigating within the campaign?
One of the first things President Obama said in our campaign was we want to run a campaign. What was different about our campaign was 3 objectives he set out from the operation standpoint, which is what I ran as COO, was the operation piece, which was run our campaign like a business, because campaigns today are, we raised $103 million in 2007. And the second thing was run our campaign with respect. And part of that was inclusion. And running a respectful campaign that was inclusive was equal customer service. And that customer service was not just for the voter, but it was for the internal campaign staff, it was for the interns, it was for the volunteers, it was for the people who donated money. So for example, one of the things we did was we made sure that headquarters team in Chicago, in operations, for example, reached out every week to our teams on the ground and made sure that we kept the communication going, because that's where you get into trouble, is when people start making assumptions. They start looking at, the headquarters is making these decisions and we don't have any role in it. So Obama wanted to make sure that all of our staff continued to communicate, continue to talk, and make sure that we could have this customer service philosophy from inside the campaign, but also every person who called our campaign, they were answered, they got a live voice. Or if it went into voicemail, they got a return call. They sent us an email, they got a return email. That was what President Obama, that was one of his top priorities for our campaign.
How important is it that politicians and business leaders alike listen to and respect their workforces?
Well, the interesting thing is that all the answers, much of the answers are right there with your team. And I think sometimes in campaigns, in corporations, in life, we forget to ask the people who are actually doing the work on the ground. And that is one of the key components. If you respect and listen and include your teams, wherever they are, middle management, people working below that, people out in the country, as we did in our campaign, they have the answers. They'll tell you, if you're steering off course. And that listening component, that including component was key. And, hosting meetings and opportunities for people to have those kind of conversations. For a corporation, campaign, any nonprofit, any entity, a family, is critical to the success.
Do you believe that meetings are indeed the most effective tool in the communications box?
Absolutely. Isn't it the human nature of all of us to be included, to be part of something, to belong, and that human beings want to be valued and heard and understood? And how does that happen? Through meetings. And it's the key to leadership. The meeting industry is so critical. It's the human contact, it's the meeting, it's the wonderful things that happen when people come together.
In America alone, 2.4 million jobs and $35 billion of annual tax revenues are derived from this industry. Do you think that's recognized in Washington?
Washington is all about meetings. When you look at a typical White House, President Obama just changed the name of the public liaison office to public engagement. What that means is he's always bringing in, as every president does, brings in community and voters and Americans to the White House in meeting fashion to discuss how we're going to deal with energy policy, how we're going to deal with healthcare changes, how we're going to celebrate various pieces of legislation that the president and Congress are working on. And so bringing people together is how politics, is how government works. It is the fundamental aspect of business, of government, of campaigns, of life, is people coming together and meeting.
So if it works for the president of the US, presumably it works for the president of a corporation.
We sometimes think that politics is so different than corporate America. There are differences, of course, but at the end of the day, you're still dealing with a brand. You're trying to market. You're trying to reach out to people. A political campaign has a brand. Like Barack Obama became a brand. He became something we were trying to educate people about, get to know him. It's the same thing in a company. What's your product? How are you reaching out to the world to educate people about your product, about your service that you want them to get to know about? So it's the same. And it's today, I think we're moving to a world where it's a buyer's market. And the grassroots and the innovation and the inclusion is what we're talking about. So corporations have to be able, how are we going to include our customers? How are we going to include people that don't even know about us? And that is by reaching out, by using the tools available and making people feel like they matter, that they're included and they're respected, to learn more about your business.
Betsy Myers, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you today.
Every day, we take a little inspiration into the air. Inspiration direct from the heart of modern Arabia. New heights of comfort, service, and luxury for all. And those little touches that make every flight special. But no matter where in the world we fly, nothing beats the feeling of coming home. Etihad Airways, from Abu Dhabi to the world.